Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, money keeps slipping through your fingers? Like you're chasing it endlessly, yet it's always just out of reach. You're not alone. What if I told you that the problem isn't your effort, or even your faith, but the way you're applying the principles? In God's kingdom, it's not just about praying. It's about applying. King Solomon, the wisest and richest man who ever lived, understood this deeply. He wasn't blessed by accident. He learned how to make money work for him, not the other way around. And today, I'm going to reveal 3 powerful secrets taken straight from his wisdom that will transform the way you see money. These aren't empty promises. This is practical, biblical, and spiritual wisdom. So get ready, because what you're about to discover could change everything in your financial life if you choose to take action. Are you tired of working harder and harder, yet always feeling like money never seems to be enough? As if it's constantly running ahead of you, while you're left chasing it exhausted. What if I told you that the problem isn't your effort, and it's not your faith either, but the way you're using the principles? Because here's something hardly anyone talks about. In the kingdom of God, it's not just about praying, it's about applying. And Solomon, the wisest and richest man to ever walk this earth, understood that perfectly. He wasn't blessed by luck. He was blessed because he learned how to make money work for him, not the other way around. Most people spend their entire lives trying to gather more money, when the real secret isn't to accumulate, it's to activate. Solomon didn't rely on a paycheck or luck. He relied on divine wisdom. And today, I'm going to show you 3 powerful secrets taken directly from Solomon's principles, truths that can completely transform how you view money. And not just that, they can actually make your money start working for you. But let me warn you, this isn't a video filled with empty promises. Here, we speak about practical, biblical, and spiritual wisdom. We're going to connect faith with strategy, because what you're about to learn has the power to radically shift your finances if you're willing to act. And I promise you something. The second secret is so powerful that once I understood it, I stopped chasing money and started attracting provision. Stay with me until the end, because in the final minutes, I'll be sharing something special for those who want to go deeper and access content reserved for the brave. Subscribe to Messiah Speaks and turn on notifications, because this is just one of many mentorships that will change your perspective and your financial reality. Have you ever felt like someone who works endlessly and still money never seems to last? Many people live trapped in a cycle of producing and spending without ever experiencing multiplication. This isn't just a matter of income, it's a matter of misapplied spiritual principles. Money was created to serve, but if you don't know how to manage it, it will end up ruling your life. And God didn't design his children to be slaves to the system. The Bible is clear. Whoever is faithful with little will also be faithful with much. Luke 16:10. And if the little you have today isn't producing fruit, it's likely because you're not using it with purpose. Solomon understood that it's not enough to just have resources, you have to put them to work. And that starts by identifying where you're sowing and whether that ground is truly fertile. The problem isn't just how much you earn, it's how you're handling what you already have. Have you noticed how some people seem to prosper with far less than you? It's not luck, it's wisdom. It's focus. It's people who've decided to take control of their finances, stop being victims of the system, and start acting as kingdom stewards. Because while some spend impulsively, others invest with vision. Which side are you on? Many still live with a fixed salary mindset, as if that were the only form of provision. But God's design is so much broader. The Hebrew people in the desert were fed with manna every day. But when they entered the promised land, God stopped sending the manna. Why? Because now it was their responsibility to cultivate and multiply. Manna is temporary. Multiplication is destiny. And to multiply You need to know where you're unknowingly losing money. Unnecessary subscriptions, impulsive meals, hidden debts, emotional spending. They're small leaks that over time drain your finances. It's not just about having more. It's about stopping what's draining you right now. Multiplication starts with order. Money won't work for you if you're not working with wisdom. And that means distinguishing spending from investing. What gives you instant pleasure often robs you of your future. But what you sow with purpose, no matter how small, can yield an eternal harvest. Solomon said, "The wise store up choice food and oil, but fools gulp theirs down." Proverbs 21:20. Imagine every bill in your wallet is a seed. Are you sowing them, or just consuming them? Seeds that are planted with direction produce. Seeds that are simply eaten vanish. God gave you resources not just to survive, but to establish His kingdom. And that only happens when money stops being your master and becomes your servant. This is where many people fail. They want financial freedom without discipline. They dream of abundance, but refuse to let go of habits that keep them chained to scarcity. You can't sow disorder and expect to reap stability. Prosperity isn't a moment, it's a culture. And it starts with examining your patterns. That's why I want you to ask yourself something today. Is my money serving me? Or am I enslaved to it? If it's not working for you, it's time to change the way you see it. Because if you treat it like something fleeting, it will keep slipping away. But if you honor it with purpose, it becomes a channel of blessing. And that channel activates when you apply the right principles. Now that you understand why your money may not be producing as it should, let's dive into Solomon's first secret to multiplication. Use what you already have with wisdom, even if it seems little. If you put it into motion, God can make it great. Solomon's first secret is simple, but powerful. Multiply what you already have. Many people are waiting to have more before they start. But the principle of the kingdom is exactly the opposite. In Ecclesiastes 11:4-6 it says, "He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap." In other words, if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never move forward. Solomon knew that the beginning of abundance isn't found in what's missing, but in what's already in your hands. We all have something we can multiply. It may not be money, but it might be time, skills, connections, or knowledge. If you don't value what you already have, you're not ready for what's coming next. Multiplication starts with gratitude and movement. The widow with the oil in 2 Kings 4 had only a jar and a little oil. But when she obeyed the prophet and used the little she had, God multiplied it abundantly. What about you? Are you waiting for a miracle? Or activating the miracle with what you already have? Sometimes what you need is not more capital, but more action with what you already possess. Many underestimate small beginnings, but what starts with faithfulness ends in fullness. Remember, the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed. Don't focus on how small it looks. Focus on how great it can become. And what if that idea you've been postponing is the exact one God wants to use to break you out of scarcity? Today, there are countless ways to put something in motion. Selling a handmade product, starting a digital channel, offering a simple service you already know how to do. The format doesn't matter. The principle does. If you don't put what you have to work, you can't expect more. God does not multiply stagnation. He multiplies obedience. There's a story about Mariana, a single mother in Peru. She started by selling cakes in her neighborhood. She was scared. She knew nothing about business. But she started with faith. Every bit of profit she made, she reinvested. Within 6 months, she had loyal customers. And today, she employs other women. She didn't wait to have everything. She started with what she had. And God did the rest. What many call too little on earth, God calls a seed in heaven. Are you burying your talents out of fear of failure? Solomon taught that the diligent will see fruit, but the lazy will only see hunger. The spiritual realm responds to effort, guided by faith. This isn't about moving out of anxiety, but out of obedience. And now, I want to pause and invite you to something special. We've prepared a powerful resource that reveals 10 spiritual secrets to transform your finances according to the Bible. It's a 30-day challenge that has already changed lives. This isn't just another book. It's a guide to activate your faith with wisdom. Instead of selling you anything, I invite you to do something greater. Leave a comment below if you want to grow your finances with God's help. Say, I'm ready to activate my purpose. This resource is not just information, it's activation, because many know they need to move forward, but don't know how. Inside, you'll find clear direction, biblical foundations, practical exercises, and a spiritual journey that could revolutionize your finances. Don't ignore it. Sometimes, one small decision can activate massive multiplication. Back to the secret. What seems insufficient today can become your testimony tomorrow. If you put it into motion. Multiply what you have, even if it seems small. Even if no one else values it. God honors those who move by faith. And that's the key to unlocking the next secret: how to turn your ideas into real productivity. Secret number 2. Turn your ideas into real productivity. Solomon said in Proverbs 14:23, "In all labor there is profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty." In other words, an idea that never turns into action is just an illusion. God gives us ideas not to store them away, but to develop them. A fertile mind, just like fertile soil, produces fruit only when it is sown into. Many people have incredible dreams, brilliant projects, and powerful revelations, but they don't move forward. Why? Because they're waiting for everyone's approval, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for guarantees of success. Meanwhile, others with simpler ideas are already seeing results. The difference isn't the idea, it's the execution. An idea in the kingdom is not just human creativity. Many times, it's a divine download, a seed from heaven waiting for action on earth. And what if that thought that keeps coming back to you isn't just coincidence, but an instruction? The faster you obey, the faster you'll see fruit. The time for thinking has passed. Now is the time to act. What many people don't understand is that productivity doesn't mean doing more. It means doing what God told you to do with diligence. You can have 1,000 responsibilities, but if none of them are aligned with your calling, you'll end up exhausted and fruitless. Biblical productivity is multiplied purpose. Let's look at the example of Andres, a young man from Mexico. He dreamed of impacting lives by teaching financial education from a Christian perspective. He spent years thinking about how to do it, until one day, he simply recorded a video on his phone and uploaded it to YouTube. He had no experience, but he acted in faith. Today, he reaches thousands every week. His productivity started with obedience. You don't need a company to be productive. Maybe your gift is writing, designing, teaching, advising, selling, or serving. Unused talent rusts. Used talent expands. God doesn't place ideas in your mind just to decorate them. He gives them to be used. And when you use your gifts for the kingdom backs your work. And what if the next income you're waiting for is directly connected to the idea you still haven't executed? Heaven responds to movement. You don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to start. And God will align the resources, the people, and the opportunities along the way. But everything begins with you. So here's a practical challenge. Think of one idea God already gave you, but you've been postponing. Write it down, pray over it, and take one step today. Post something, call someone, open that file, start. You'll see how heavenly productivity begins to manifest the moment you decide to act. And if you've made it this far, I want to ask you, for something very special. Leave this phrase in the comments as a prophetic act and declaration of faith. My ideas produce and prosper, guided by God. This is not just a comment. It's activation. It's putting into motion what God has already planted in your mind. There is power when you declare something aligned with God's will. And when you write this, you're telling heaven, I'm ready to produce. I'm ready to multiply. I'm ready to use what you've given me. And trust me, heaven responds to that kind of heart. Solomon wasn't just wise. He was strategic. He didn't live off of inspiration. He lived off of application. He didn't just dream of wealth. He built systems that created abundance. And that same pattern is available to you. The second secret is this: turn your ideas into production. And production will attract provision. Now, there's a question many people ask, but what if I produce and no one buys? The answer lies in the next secret: how to sow in strategic places to reap real multiplication. Asterisk secret. Number A, sow where there is purpose, not just emotion. One of the biggest reasons money doesn't multiply is because people sow where there's emotion, not where there's purpose. Solomon made it clear in Ecclesiastes 11:6. In the morning sow your seed, and at evening do not let your hands be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. It's not about sowing where it feels nice, it's about sowing where God shows you there's fertile ground. Many confuse emotion with divine direction. They give, invest, or sow moved by a moment's inspiration, but without discerning if that ground was truly assigned by God. The result? Frustration, loss, discouragement. But when you sow where there's purpose, even if you don't see immediate results, you can be sure that heaven is involved. Jesus taught us that there is good soil, but also rocky, thorny, and shallow soil. Not every seed produces. Not every project bears fruit. But when you sow in the right place, something supernatural happens. Even if your resources seem small, purpose multiplies what your pocket cannot. Let's look at the story of Samuel, a young entrepreneur from Colombia. Had some savings and decided to invest in a fast fashion business. Because it was trendy. He lost everything in 3 months. Then he realized his calling was actually in children's education. So he started a free channel. Today, he runs a network of biblical education for children. It supports his family and blesses thousands. Don't sow where there's fame. Don't sow where there's noise. Sow where there's legacy. Sow where your investment doesn't just return to you, but transforms lives. Sometimes, the best seed is in a small vision with deep roots. Other times, it's in someone with no platform, but with a genuine calling. When you sow into works with purpose, your seed becomes a testimony. Money stops being a tool of ego and becomes an instrument for kingdom expansion. That's what Solomon did. He built alliances, he sent resources. He built cities, not just with gold, but with a heavenly vision. And here's something powerful. Don't just sow into what's visible. Sow into the spiritual. Sow time. Sow intercession. Sow mentorship. The kind of ground that receives those seeds responds in unexpected ways. Many sources of income come disguised as divine connections, God-inspired ideas, or opportunities sowed with a pure heart. Now, I want to open a sacred space. If you have a prayer request related to your finances, your decisions, or any area of your life, write it in the comments. And also take a moment to pray for someone else. This channel, Messiah Speaks, is a community of faith. And praying for others is one of the most powerful seeds you can sow. Maybe your greatest harvest will come from a prayer you made for someone else. Maybe heaven is just waiting for you to activate your generous heart, not just with money, but with compassion. Because what you give always comes back. And when your seed is genuine, God never fails to respond. Remember, sowing with purpose doesn't always seem profitable at first. But kingdom profitability isn't measured in weeks. It's measured in eternal fruit. And everything You sow in obedience, in faith, and in love will be rewarded. Solomon knew that every right seed brought more than just money. It brought influence, peace, honor, and protection. That's the power of sowing strategically. You're not just investing. You're participating in something greater. Something that only heaven can repay. Asterisk secret number 4. Build a system that works for you. Solomon didn't just accumulate wealth. He built systems that generated wealth, even without his constant presence. The Book of Kings shows how he delegated, established trade routes, managed resources, and created a functional network that sustained the kingdoms. Prosperity, even in his absence. This is a powerful principle. The rich don't sell their time. They create structures that generate income even while they sleep. Today, we call it passive income, automation, scalable systems. But the idea is the same. Money should work for you, not the other way around. That's the difference between someone who's constantly chasing provision and someone who manages it with peace. While many people exhaust themselves trading hours for dollars, others are investing time building systems that give them freedom. This doesn't mean you stop working or that you look for magical formulas. It means you apply wisdom. Jesus also delegated. He sent others. He multiplied through his disciples. He showed us that a well-planned action can outlive the moment. The same applies to your finances. It's not enough to have income. You need to create channels that keep flowing without constant effort. A system can be a digital business, a well-placed investment, a partnership that brings consistent returns, even something you build once, like a book, a course, or an automated store, and it keeps generating income for years. The key is to shift your mindset from just working to building. Remember Solomon's advice in Ecclesiastes 11:2. Divide your portion among 7, or even 8, for you do not know what disaster may happen on the earth. This isn't just diversification, it's foresight. It's strategy. Solomon knew that having multiple systems created stability. And you need the same: multiple sources, multiple flows, a solid structure. Many think this is only for millionaires, but it's actually for anyone who wants to multiply with wisdom. You can start small, right from your own home. What matters is the vision. What matters is to act with intention. A system starts with organization, planning, responsibility, and if you value this kind of content, this kind of deep, revealing, and spiritually applied teaching for your financial life, let me give you a special invitation. Become a part of the Messiah Speaks community. Every week, we release exclusive content, deep mentorships like this one, and early materials not available to the public. This is our way of honoring those who choose to walk closely with us, those who decide to sow into this ministry. Because what you receive multiplies, and what you share positions you. The people inside our community gain access to revelations that are transforming lives, and they can transform yours. 2. This secret building systems is not an option. It's a necessity, because whoever doesn't build structures that produce on their own is doomed to repeat cycles of exhausting effort. And you weren't called to that. You were called to manage, to multiply, to govern. That's why the next step is essential. It's not enough to just build systems. You also need to protect what you've built. Solomon, in all his wisdom, didn't just teach how to generate wealth. He taught how to not lose it. Proverbs 27:24 says, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds, for riches do not endure forever." This warning is more relevant today than ever. Making money is one thing. Keeping it is a whole different story. Many people reach a level of prosperity, then fall, because they don't know how to protect what they've built. They stop watching their expenses. They surround themselves with the wrong people, or they relax their principles, but whatever is not guarded will be lost. That's why God calls us to be faithful stewards of the resources He places in our hands. Protection begins with discernment. Not everything that shines is an opportunity. Sometimes, the enemy disguises himself as a financial miracle to distract you. And if you're not connected to God's voice, you might jeopardize your stability. Prayer is the best spiritual alarm system. It also means constantly reviewing your priorities. Are you investing in what really matters? Does your money reflect your purpose? Many spend fortunes on superficial things, but invest nothing in what feeds their minds, strengthens their families, or expands their calling. Protecting wealth means protecting the vision that created it. Don't ignore the invisible leaks, unnecessary expenses, bad habits, emotional debt. Those small cracks can drain great blessings. That's why, like Solomon, you must watch over your fields, your barns, your relationships. What is well managed grows. What is neglected collapses. This isn't about living in fear. It's about living in wisdom. God doesn't multiply so that we waste. He multiplies so we manage. When you understand this, every coin becomes a seed, and every investment becomes a sacred decision. You don't just have wealth. You have a mission. And this secret may not be popular, but it's vital. Many don't fail because they lack talent, but because they have too much confidence. They assume there will always be more. But the wise person plans, stores, prepares. The wise person gets ready for difficult seasons. And that preparation is also part of faith. Just like Joseph prepared Egypt during years of abundance, you also need to prepare your home, your accounts, your vision. Because the one who protects what God has given will be entrusted with more. Now that you know all of this, it's time to bring this journey to a close with a conclusion that ties everything together. Everything we talked about today isn't just a collection of financial strategies. They are spiritual keys that can transform your finances from the inside out. Solomon wasn't the richest man in history because of luck. He was rich because he knew how to align his mind, his habits, and his decisions with the will of God. And now you are being invited to do the same. Step by step, with faith and determination. It's not about having more money to live in luxury. It's about having money to live with purpose, with freedom, and with the ability to bless others. Because when money works for you, instead of you working for it, you can focus on what's eternal, your family, your calling, your legacy, and that is true wealth. So don't stop here. Apply what you learned today. Pray for guidance, organize your finances, examine your habits, and start building a system that honors God, a system that frees your time and your mind. This was just the beginning of a new cycle. The next step is in your hands. And if you have a financial, personal, or spiritual prayer request, write it in the comments. Here, we pray together, we believe together, and we witness miracles together. You are not alone. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, may God bless you in every area of your life. And always remember, this is not just about money. This is about your eternal purpose.